good night, my subscribers. Good night, my viewers. Good night, everyone. And thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for liking, for sharing, and for telling a friend to tell a friend. All right. So, in tonight's story time, I'm just gonna tell you about a little experience that I had, and the lesson it taught me, and what I won't be doing moving forward. Right? So, I was in a relationship with a guy. I was with him for 6 years, and I was living with him for 5 years. Anyways, in relationship, sorry, things get rocky. Um, sometimes it's there and next time it's not there. Sometimes you have to try and make ends meet and so forth. So, um, initially when we started talking, I wasn't working. So, he was the one taking care of the bills, taking care of me, ensuring that the household is stuck with things. I wasn't living with him at the time, but each time I visit, he would always ensure that I have funds to take care of me until I return. Because I used to visit him like once or twice per week, depending on his work schedule. Um, the relationship got serious, and we were together. We decided to move in together because at the time I was actually renting a little place, and sometimes it was tough because sometimes when he give me the money, I have to pay the rent, and so because the relationship was getting serious, we decided that I was going to live with him. He was actually It was an extended family home, but majority of the persons that used to live there were abroad. So it was just me, him, and two other persons living there at the time. Anyways, he was holding me down, as I was telling you before, and I am not a person to just sit around and not seeking employment, because I have my subjects, and I have my certificates in various fields, so I know I can get jobs, or I can get work. However, I had a bad experience at an hotel, and so I tried to shy away from the hotel jobs. The government work, sometimes it's hard to get in. It's basically a pull string system. So that's where I wanted to get into, a government institution. But unfortunately, it was that way. And so, I applied at various private sectors, various public sectors as well. And you know what they always say, sometimes when you desperately need, nobody is there. But as soon as something turn away, the opportunities start to show up themselves. However, I took a job. Um, it wasn't the best, but at the time that institution was the first to reach out to me, did my interview, and I got through. So I was with him for 1 year and 6 months, and I have been working for 1 year. Because 6 months into the relationship, I wasn't working. Anyways, things were going good. It's a kind of relationship that most persons dream about. I really enjoyed the first stage of that relationship. It was like, um, that moment you get when it's like, I can't live without you. Each time you see the person, it's like you're loving the person over and over again for the very first time. So that was the kind of relationship we had in the initial stage of it. Um, Something happened at his work, and unfortunately he was terminated. And so after his termination, things kind of spill over on me now because I was the one making the money and so forth. So um, I had to be covering the bills, um, ensuring that the house is good and so forth. He had his immediate family overseas, and you know, when it comes down to bills and so forth, his mom will chime in and send her contribution and so forth. So things kind of was getting a little bit too expensive for me because I wasn't working the desired salary that is, and I was just a beginner at my work. So I was at the foot and wasn't getting the head payment. I was getting the foot payment, the foot salary. And that goes. You have to stretch it. You have to stretch. You have to stretch until you can stretch no more. So things were becoming unbearable to me. I wasn't the one to basically give up on person because I remember I was in that same predicament and he was the one who assisted me. So I didn't have any problem at all doing it. The problem that I had was the timeline it took for him to get back into another job because he was the picky type. So he didn't want to do certain type of jobs, which is understandable because I am like that myself. Um, so he was, however, he was sending out his application and so forth. So um, but things were just getting to me because it was taking too long and so forth. Um, Anyways, finally he got through. Um, it was kind of a supervisor job, but he did a lot of driving as well. So at the time he didn't have any. He wasn't mobile at the time, so he took some money from his friend and he bought a bike, and it was his mode of transportation to work. So when he was going to work, he actually worked outside of the parish into another parish. So the journey would have been a little longer. So he has to be up early, and then he will come in late at night. Um, it wasn't that easy to me because he was getting his day off and so forth. So we tried to do as much um, enjoyment together while he was on his day off. So we tried to ensure that we both had the same day off so we can spend quality time with each other. Because sometimes when he's off work and I'm off work, once you reach home, straight bed until work the next morning. So in a relationship you have to find time for each other as well, else it won't work. You know. So we did find time for each other. I remember um, I was mad at him one night, and you know, I can't remember what exactly took place, but I knew I was mad at him. I was pissed, um, because man, I'm not gonna say every man, but um, certain man or some man, them cannot satisfy. So always have female, because I have been having issues with him and other females. I talk to him about it. Sometimes he'll give me the assurance that it is no longer, it was just a one time thing or something like that. Majority of the time, though, he doesn't admit to them. And I was the type of female at that time. I would go through his phone daily, nightly. Once I get the chance to do it, I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter how him change the code, when him change the code, I always find a way, I always find some sort of a way to see the code, change the code, or even block the phone until he changed the password and I get access to it. So that's the type of person I was back then, and I mean that was years ago. I'm telling you about when I was actually in my prime. Anyways, I was really mad at him. I'm not sure because sometimes female used to call the phone while he was sleeping, and when I answer the phone, they start to be verbally abusive, and so it caused a lot of problem in the relationship as well. Um, and so majority of the time I was pissed at him when that started to happen. Within the first 1.5 to 2 years, I didn't have any problem at all. I mean, maybe because I wasn't searching, or maybe because it wasn't that serious with those females at the time. Because if I had knew earlier, then maybe I wouldn't even decide to go and live with him. But I thought it was just me alone at the time. It seemed as if he was actually tagging these females along while we were together as well. So it got to a point where persons were actually calling him at nights, and they were verbally abusive. I have to be verbally abusive back to them because as a female, you're not gonna take certain type of behavior, attitude from a female on the phone. And so one day he went to work, and I mean, I was so pissed at him. He was actually calling me to ask me what I wanted him to buy, because normally on a Saturday or on a Friday we would buy food. We don't cook on Saturdays and Fridays for majority of the time. If I'm gonna cook on a Saturday, it will be soup. If it's not soup, then I'm going to buy food. Um, it was a Saturday night, and he just called me to tell me that he was actually leaving out now to come home. So I was like, okay. I don't know where this girl got my number from, but somebody texted my phone, and she was being real boisterous, like it was her phone, and I had to put her in her place and so forth. So he was actually calling me to ask me what I wanted for dinner, because normally I would tell him to take a mixed food or something like that. But he was just calling to confirm what type of food I wanted. But I didn't answer him. Trust me, I didn't answer him. Um, I was pissed. Really didn't answer him. And so I believe he had bought it, and he was now heading home. Um, an accident took place in which he was injured. He was badly injured. It wasn't life threatening, but it was the type of accident that you couldn't continue working for a period of time. And so when um, when he got into the accident, he was actually calling me, and I didn't answer the phone because I was still mad at him. I was mad, and something in my gut told me that I should answer, I should call him back. But my I let my ego got the best of me, and I didn't call him back. But I was still worried because I knew the time that he would actually reach home. And so I saw his sister-in-law, that's his brother's wife, calling me, telling me that he was actually calling me. I didn't get me. I should go to the hospital now because he was in an accident. I mean, I cried, I cried, I cried, I cried, I cried. I was like, I could have answered the phone. I should have answered the phone because I didn't know if that was the last time he was actually going to say something to me, or um, but I try not to blame myself because the things that I was upset about were things that was within his control, and he let it get out of control. And so I try not to blame myself for it. Um, I did got ready, and I called the rest of the family, and I told them, and we all went to the hospital. I went there. He had a broken foot. Um, he had a couple injuries as well. But as I said before, none were life threatening. Um, so he was there. He was in a cast for at least 6 to 9 months. Um, while he was in the cast, he wasn't working, and again, all the bills on me, which began to be more hectic now because he wasn't able to move around that much when it had just happened. But during the course of the time, he was able to move around and so forth. But he was unable to work. I had to be footing the bills. I had to be footing groceries. I mean, every little thing that required spending. His hospital visit as well. I had to go every Tuesday, and so I had to take that as my day off and work one day on the weekend. I was actually doing this for about 6 months because he also had a cut which has to be dressed. Um, so it was just unbearable. Um, he had his sisters, they would chime in now and then, and carry groceries and so forth. In one and two instances, his mom would pay the bill, but for 99% of the time, it was all me. It was only me, and I didn't regret doing it because, as I mentioned, I knew what he had done for me um, when I wasn't working. Um, so I was putting the bills, I was doing this, I was doing that. It became unbearable again. Come as a female, you start to look into things, you start to say things. So um, I'm not going to tell that I'm a saint. So you start to think about things, you start to doing things, and I because of all the insult and all the things that I have been through, I started to see one of my ex, and you know I was seeing my ex. That's the only time because he was someone that I could actually talk to, relate to. But in the sense that I was talking to him, I was talking to him work wise and support. I wasn't talking to him about relationship wise because I never ever practice to tell a man about another man. I would never do that. So I was there. I had two friends at the time, and I used to confide in them. So each time I was going to see my ex, I would actually tell them, hey, I'm going here, I'm going there. I would actually share the experience with them because those are persons that I think I could trust at the time. So, I was sharing, I was sharing, I was sharing. Um, and, anything happened, I would just tell them and so forth. So, it reached to a point where I was actually falling out of love with him because even when he get back on his feet, it's not nothing changed. He was that same person, and so but the fact something happened, and I found it straight because whenever he was doing anything, I mean, he never admit to them, never, ever, ever admit to them. Even when I have the evidence in front of me, he would always deny it. And something happened one day, and I was like, um, aren't you gonna stop see this girl because she has been in a relationship for like forever, so what you plan to do about it? And he was like, what do you plan to do about it? And I was like, that wasn't the response I was looking for. And he was like, um, you're acting as if you're not doing things. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he said, just leave it at that. I end up stop talking to my ex because sometimes the ex actually have their personal, and so I was just feeling that it's over, I'm done with this, I'm done with this. And then I started talking to this person. When I started talking to this person over the phone, it wasn't anything intimate. It was just I didn't know the person, but I was just expressing myself to him because it was someone I met online, and I was expressing myself, and he was like a priest or a shrink to me, where I could just release everything, um, and he would always give me the best advice. Um, I was talking to him, and I was really relating everything to him, and he was like, "You need to leave if you're not comfortable. Leave." And that's what I did. So after 5.5 years, almost 6 years, I said, "Well, I think it's time to call it quits because I am not getting anywhere. He's not getting anywhere. I can count multiple females whom I know he has been intimate with." And I said, this is not healthy for me. So you know what I'm going to do? I am going to cut this out, cut this off. And so I take time drifting away until I went back home. Um, while at home, he came there about 1, 2 months, 3 months max, and then after a while, he stopped because the shift that, because he actually started to work at a hotel now, so he stopped because the shift that he was getting, it didn't coincide with the taxis, and so it would have been impossible for him to get taxis um, at that time in the night, and so he had to stop. Um, but after breaking up, one thing that actually stood out to me was, I can remember telling, because I have two friends at the time, and I mean, I would basically tell them everything. I would tell them the ear color, the shirt, the clothes, the shoes, everything that the person wore, because I was actually talking to them about my ex. Um, and this was an ex that they both knew. And, you know, I remember he saying to me that the time that that person came and picked you up in the silver vehicle, and you went to there and you went there, and then after you went, I mean, you could not have known that unless one out of three person told him, and that was either my ex or the two females that I shared the information with. Um, and I looked puzzled, and he was like, "Yes, you're looking puzzled, but I knew exactly what was going on." And so I had this no feelings when I was doing things, because each time you went out, I knew, and I was like, "What?" And he said, "Yes." And he said, "Your friend told me everything." but I was like, which one? And he said, you should go figure. But the thing is, I couldn't pick up which one of them because I remember telling both of them identical stories, so it would have been impossible. And what was also puzzling is that none of them had his number, so um, I just don't know what to think. So you know what I did? I just cut off both of them. Um, the gentleman and I are still friends. He's actually my friend same way. But what I did, I cut off both females because I was like, I'm your friend, you're my friend, and I confide in you and I say things to you, and you would actually go back to the same person that I did not want to hear these things. So you know, this is to show you that sometimes you confide in persons, they're actually confiding in someone else. So um, whenever you have your issues, whenever you have a problem, or whatever you want to share it with your mom if your mom has a close relationship, or you can share it with God. But mankind will fail you, they will fail you because mankind is just evilous. So you know, this is where my story ends. Thank you guys for listening. See you tomorrow for another story time. Have yourself a wonderful night, and thank you very much for subscribing, sharing, liking, and commenting.